classes this coming semester. Now, have large classrooms. We don't have any 500-seat auditoriums where people are crammed in. Our typical large classes hold normally 43 students. Now, after going through all of the distance standards, we are going to have a maximum of 14 students in those classes plus one professor. So if we have classes that have 14 or fewer students, we can hold those as traditional classes. Now, even though we may have a traditional class, we are still going to have distancing standards in place. So we're going to have dividers, masks or face shields will be mandatory at all times in class, and we will have extended breaks between class so that students can move between classes safely. The last thing we want is students to be congregating in mass in the hallways. If we have a class larger than 14 but smaller than 24, then we can move into what is called high flex. And there's not just one model of high flex. We have a lot of variations here, but let's suppose we had 28 students in a class. Well, I might hold a class for 1 hour with 14, take a 20-minute break, and then have the next 14 come in and deliver that same lecture. Now, between sessions, we're going to have the rooms cleaned. However, I believe the way that we're going to do that is ask each student upon coming in to clean his or her station. We were planning on having students clean as they went out, but we think that it's probably in the students' best interest to actually take responsibility. But we will provide materials so that each station, each seat can be clean. So in a high flex model, we may have a situation where we have shorter condensed lectures. And I had been planning, frankly, on teaching in a high flex mode this semester. I teach the capstone strategy class. It's the last class seniors take. However, my classes are already registered up to 40, so we can't really divide it into 3 sections. Having a lecture of 35 to 40 minutes and then having students pass didn't make sense. So in my classes, we are going to go to remote, but in remote, we have a couple of different options. So we can have remote synchronous or remote asynchronous. My class is actually going to be a combination of the two. So about half of those, I will expect students to be online as we are in discussion. So all of our case discussions will be in real time. However, I have gone through and updated all of my PowerPoint slides, excuse me, put voiceovers and put basically 200 hours into updating this class to make it more interesting than just opening up and having to read a bunch of notes, so that there will be interaction and there will be team dynamics, and we're going to have to do some adjustment. But we have had an online MBA program for 25 years now, so we have quite a bit of expertise in delivering online classes. Of course, we'd all like to be on campus, and we're going to do what we can, but at the end of the day, it's about delivering quality and safety. So this term that we're using is protect the pride. We want to make sure that we are able to keep all of us in a safe environment. Now, if the pandemic springs way back up, we have to be able to pivot on a moment's notice. Hopefully it will not. Hopefully we will get through this semester and we will see a vaccine come out and we can return to normal sometime in the future. But we are prepared to move quickly if we have to. And if there are students, even though we might have traditional classes who prefer to be online, our faculty are working so that we can provide students an alternative if they so wish out there. So I don't want to dwell upon it too much, the downside, but do understand that we are going to require protection for all parties. So face shields or masks are going to be required. The faculty are not going to be policemen. It's not going to be our responsibility if someone chooses not to, but we will disband class out and we will take the appropriate actions after that. So again, your safety is important, but we do not want to compromise. My last thing before I turn it back over to Ian here is that my daughter just graduated from college, And it was a great job market up until about 3 to 4 months ago. So it's actually a good time to be in college, and hopefully by the time you graduate in a few years, the market will have rebounded out there. So with that, I can answer questions, or I can turn it back to Ian and we can come back and address those later. Ian, how would you prefer to handle this?
Yeah, so one thing, Dr. Olson, you mentioned the on campus, obviously, and then the high flex. Could you just speak briefly about what remote asynchronous means and remote synchronous?
Okay. So I'm sorry. So again, remote asynchronous is there are notes, PowerPoints online, and you take the class whenever you want. You log into the PowerPoint slides or to the lecture notes or the videos on Canvas, and you take it at whatever hour of the day you want, as long as you keep up. Synchronous, though, means that you are expected to be available online during your traditional class hours. So again, mine is going to be a combination. If you have my 10:50 in the morning class, half of the time you will need to be available so that if there's a live lecture or a live discussion in cases, or you're making your presentations on your group project, that those will be live. But other weeks will be for team meetings, and we'll let you organize those as you wish. So asynchronous, you do it when you want. Synchronous means even though you're remote, you're expected to be available at a specific time of the day.
Great, thank you for that, because I know that that's been a question that people have had. So we'll roll into from kind of the campus view that Dr. Olson has just shared to a little bit more about what our program is doing. And so events, I know that was a question that a lot of you had. It's amazing that you all are so excited for networking night, because that was a question that we got quite a bit. What is that going to look like, and what are our fall events going to look like? So at this point, from a program standpoint, sport management only, this isn't speaking for campus, we have made the decision to host all of our events virtually online for the sake and for the reason that that's the way that we know we can actually do these things. We bring in a lot of guest speakers and we do a lot of events, and to try to host those on campus, we've decided it's too uncertain, and we'd rather guarantee that we can do something rather than hope for on campus and have to cancel the entire thing. So what we're going to be doing is so networking night, for example, instead of doing one huge night of networking, we're looking to break that up into more virtual sessions, smaller groups with very specific people that students could then sign up for. And we have different technologies through campus that can help facilitate a virtual networking night like that. So there'll still be a lot of value out of it. We're also looking to potentially get bigger name speakers on our campus through the internet that we would otherwise have no chance after from a fee standpoint. And so we're trying to utilize this opportunity to get some people to come in and say a few words to our program, give their perspective. So again, the major point is all of our events, or at least the vast majority, there certainly could be a few different opportunities. And in fact, one is our new student orientation. We will be hosting one of those on campus, and I'll send out date details. It'll be Thursday, August 27th. It will actually be using my classroom because it's basically been determined COVID proof by a lot of class sizes, so we can get 50 people into that classroom per COVID guidelines. And so we will be hosting an orientation, and I'll get all that information out to you guys. We know that you want a student experience. Campus Life is going to be hosting several in-person on-campus events throughout the semester. And they're working to send out those details through Welcome Week and Disorientation Week and all of these things that they have always done. They're figuring out how to manipulate those and still give students that student experience that they're looking for. So that's a really great and exciting thing for you guys to keep in mind. And so that's really the big thing that I wanted to share with you guys from a program standpoint. Again, that's just sport, that doesn't relate to the whole campus. And then now we'll switch over to Rachel, and she can talk a little bit about our internships, because that's a huge value of our program. And there may be concern about, hey, if COVID is here, are there any internships anymore? And so Rachel can give some insights into conversations she's been having.
Thanks, Ian. So obviously, the past couple months have been a little bit rough on the sport world. Happy opening day too to any of you baseball fans out there. It's a little bit strange right now, I know. So like I'd mentioned earlier, a lot of what I focus on is these internship opportunities, making sure our students are getting what they need and still getting valuable experiences. Obviously, things have taken a little bit of a strange turn, but there are still actually quite a few opportunities that have been out there. A lot of what I've been doing over the past few months has been strategically communicating with a lot of our internship host sites. Obviously, a lot of them had quite a few issues right in the beginning and had to pivot and kind of rethink how they operate their organization. But there are a few organizations that are actually starting to realize that they need more internship help right now than they have before. And I've been working with them as far as our communications to make sure that they're a little bit more forward thinking in how they're creating their experiences. Some of our opportunities are in person right now. Some of them are remote completely, but those organizations that typically had in-person experiences, I'm helping them to create internship postings and positions that should things need to pivot and go remote, that they're able to still give our students those quality experiences and also be able to give our students the ability to continue their experience and complete it even in a remote environment. So it's been helpful. Some organizations are taking a bit of a pause, but it does sound like come spring 2021, a lot of them are going to be back online. Obviously, with the Olympics hopefully coming back in 2021, there's going to be a lot of ramp up, a lot of things, because it's going to be very strange. No one has ever experienced this before. So there's still quite a bit going on, and it's definitely keeping me busy. And I'm also communicating with our students continuously, those students that are looking at graduation deadlines and things like that. We're making sure they're getting those experiences and completing these requirements, but yet still making sure they're getting that quality experience. So it has definitely kept us all pretty busy. There was also a question submitted prior to the webinar that I kind of wanted to address. Someone was asking about if you decide to have an internship experience outside of Colorado Springs, what the living situation might look like. We've had quite a few students do this different ways. Some students will actually move to the new city that they're at for that semester or period of time that they're doing that experience. But again, with everything that's happened here the last couple months, there are quite a few organizations out there that are offering more of a remote experience. And as soon as we start getting those contacts and communicating with them, there shouldn't be any reason why they would need someone in that city. If they're offering a remote experience, that should be open to anyone. So it'll really just depend on what kind of experience you're looking for. And that's part of my job, is to help you figure out what works best for you and whether or not that experience is going to work and the details behind how we make it happen.
So, Rachel, can I just take 2 seconds here to talk about a new class that we just started this last year that I'm teaching, which is Sport Management 3970. And it's basically a consulting class that you can take as either a junior or a senior with the Kroenke Sports and Entertainment Group. So the Colorado Rapids, the Colorado Avalanche, the Denver Nuggets, so NBA, NHL, or MLB, not MLB, Major League Soccer. Anyhow, these are consulting projects in small groups. So we limit it right now to 12 students per semester, but they're working at things like analytics, marketing, with a middle manager or a junior executive within Kroenke. And even though initially we were on site up in Denver and attending games and the like, right now we're doing these remote, but it's still an outstanding opportunity to get to work on real world projects that only a very few people are ever going to have access to. So it's a pretty exciting event. Again, it's not something you're, as a freshman, you'll be involved with, but just think about it. So as you get to that junior, senior year, this equates to one internship.
Yeah, and one other thing to mention based on questions, a lot of you, again, are impressed. I'm impressed by your retention of information, and hopefully Tommy will be when you take his class this fall. But you guys mentioned the 50-hour requirement out in the field, and that's actually a question that a lot of our students are asking right now because there's not events happening for obvious reasons. So we don't have an answer to that yet, but we are relooking at what we can do in replace of that. There are plenty of virtual trainings and different opportunities to engage in things. And so we're looking at how to offer new opportunities and different opportunities that are remote or COVID proof, if you will. So just stay patient for that. And by the time semester starts, we'll have an answer in terms of how that can work. Next, we'll pivot over to Tommy. About half of you are enrolled in his Sport 1000 Introduction to Sport Management course this fall. So Tommy, if you could share a little bit about your plans for fall semester and give any insight that you want about just, teaching in sport management overall.
Thanks, Ian. So as Dean Olson or Dr. Olson mentioned, there's the high flex option, and that's the one that I've selected for that class. The largest challenge we have is that the room is 7 students with COVID restrictions over capacity. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around exactly how that operates each week, but there will be some times where there will be in-class time for certain students, and then other students will attend the class virtually through one of the platforms, either WebEx or Teams, most likely Teams because it's a little bit more user-friendly, amazingly. But so it'll look like that. There are times where we have case presentations in the class where you work with a couple of people and you present. So clearly, if you're those people, then you'll present. There's also a series of people who I usually bring into the class to kind of talk about the different sectors of the industry and highlight that. So that will all be done virtually as opposed to in person. So if you're in the classroom, you'll be able to see it via the technology in the classroom. If you're not in the classroom, then you'll see it through the same mechanisms that we use for the rest of the class. I think that covers it, Ian. The other classes, one, for me, the student population is low enough that I can have the entire class in person. And then another one, the population of the class compared to that room is so extraordinarily high that it may actually just go with a synchronous online model.
Yeah, great, Tommy. Thank you. And the other main professor we have for our program, his name is Spencer Harrison. You'll get to see him later. Today's actually his birthday, and he had already had plans. So he sends his regards and his regrets. Next, let's hear from Morgan. Morgan, as she said at the beginning, is a senior in our program, graduating this December, as long as all goes well. Right, Morgan?
Hopefully.
And
fingers.
she's also been very engaged in our program and instrumental with SMAC. It's our Sport Management Activity Council. So Morgan, whether it's today or in the near future, Morgan's a great person to lean on and ask questions to. And just as a quick heads up to get you thinking, Morgan's our last speaker, and then we'll go into the Q&A part of it, but she also has to leave to help an event that an online event that she's interning for. So we're gonna wanna get any questions that you guys have for Morgan as a student, get those fired up now so that we can get them to her before she has to leave. Morgan, take it.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Ian. So I'm just gonna kind of talk about the positives of the sport management program, specifically just some of the positives in general, and then with COVID. The great thing about the sport management program, especially right now in this weird and difficult time, is that Ian and everybody in the program has really listened to the students and what we think we need and what works best for us. So you can be confident going into this semester knowing that your voice is going to be heard and that the professors are going to do everything that they can to make sure that you're having the best experience possible, even if it's not a normal college experience this first semester that you were looking forward to. They're still going to be very supportive. Ian talked about events. So they won't be live this semester like we hoped, but we're very excited about these virtual events because we're going to be able to do things and get more speakers that we might not have been able to before. So they're going to be, I think, even better than these past semesters because we're going to have more opportunities. Going off of that, I think that one of the biggest helps and one of the biggest positives about our program are the events. You get to meet, and you're going to be able to get to meet so many different professionals in so many different industries across sports. So college, professional, Olympic, like it's literally endless, which is wonderful. You get to expand your network, and your job opportunities after you graduate are going to be, as long as you put in the effort and as long as you do your best to be involved in the program, you're going to get a lot out of it. Dr. Olson mentioned that the job market right now isn't fantastic, so graduating in December is a little bit scary. But I have met a lot of wonderful professionals that I know will help me find a job if I need to. I'm thinking of doing more school, so it's a little bit, I might not be looking for a job, but if I go down that route, I will have a lot of people in my network who are going to help me. And that's all because of events like networking night and different events that you can get to meet professionals. Another really great advantage of the sport management program are the internships. Rachel does a wonderful job of putting out as many different sources and resources to find internships. And Colorado Springs is a really great place for sport internships because of the Olympics. And once again, that's another really big advantage for finding a job after after and outside of college. Another thing that I want to touch on is SMAC. Like I said, I'm on the board of SMAC. It's been a really great experience. Kind of you get to know more people that are just as involved as you are. And I really encourage all of you to join in on our SMAC meetings virtually this semester. It's kind of your opportunity to be the student population's voice. So you get a chance to kind of let us know what you're thinking about the program. It's open to everybody, so anybody can join. And you get a chance to kind of help plan events and help the program out in any way from your perspective. So I think that's all I have.
Morgan, I'm going to add one other thing. Unfortunately, our international internships have gone away this year. But as soon as the vaccine gets out, we will be back planning that. And so if any of you are interested in looking at a junior senior year internship in predominantly England or the UK, those things should be back on track. We are certainly maintaining our relationships with the clubs, the organizations, and the universities we have over there. So that's something potentially to look forward to as well.
And I'm going to piggyback off of what Morgan just said about the value of SMAC, and it doesn't matter if you're in SMAC necessarily or any club that you are participating in, any class that you're participating. You're going to hear it from me today, and you're going to hear it from me for the next 4 years, as Morgan can attest to, but you get out of this program what you put into it. And so if you follow Morgan's lead and students like her that are attending our events, that are engaging in the classroom and answering Tommy's questions and challenging Spencer's perspective, that's how you get value out of whatever it is that you want to do in your life. And so again, it doesn't mean you have to formally join something, but it means that when you go to college, take advantage of it. We are here to serve you. Our program is very student first mentality. And so we want to help you guys get to that next step, and your success is what motivates your peers. And that's what makes everything just go awesome. So Morgan, applaud you in your persistence, because that is, you've made us proud. So
thank you.
And you, there's a check in the mail for you with your kind words, and now there should be a check right back to us for ours. So as you guys start typing in your questions, make sure to use that chat feature at the bottom there. It's a little text bubble. Send it to everyone or send it to me, and we can answer those questions. But I'm going to ask a couple to you guys. And does anyone have one, actually, before I say any of the pre-submitted, does anyone attending or any of us internally have a question for Morgan, since we've only got about 5 more minutes of her time? Okay, think about that.
10, 15 minutes, so I can stay on a little bit longer.
Gotcha. Okay. So think of those questions for her. Somebody asked about using Microsoft programs only, and so I want to address that. What I think I'm understanding is really, the question had put in their Word and Outlook and those sorts of platforms that Microsoft uses. They're not the only things that you can use, but those are probably, and Morgan, you could maybe address this too, but those are probably the most common. UCCS does have an Office 365 package available to all students through our IT department. So if you are buying a brand new laptop or have just bought a brand new laptop, but it didn't come with Microsoft Office, You don't need to buy that because you can actually get that for free through campus. And that is, I don't know exactly when you get access to that. You may already have it because you have a student portal, but that's through our Office of IT. So just make sure that you know that you've got that resource. But then so many other things are out there, Google Drive and your OneDrive and all these different online things that have different Word, Excel type documents. So keep that piece in mind. Morgan, do you have any other experiences or things to add on that note?
I think Microsoft is probably the easiest to use. Some professors use different things, especially this last semester. I had different professors using different things. But I know that Tommy, he used Microsoft and it was one of the easiest things ever. He just sent us an email saying this is when our meetings are going to be, and then you just click on the link and it takes you right there. So once you download that off of the UCCS IT website, it's super easy to use. So I am not very technologically advanced with stuff like that, and I think it was really easy to use. So that says something.
Good. Morgan, you've got another question coming your way, so keep your microphone on. Michaela's asking, at what point can students join the SMAC board?
Gosh, I wish I remembered the requirements. So you can join our meetings at any time if you're a freshman, senior, whenever. So then the next step would be to be a board representative. And you can, Ian, correct me if I'm wrong, you can be voted into that at any point.
Yep.
I think, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think we're just calling them representatives and then board members. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. So then representatives, you can be voted onto that at any time, no matter what position or what freshman, whatever. To be a board member, you have to have 1 year of representative experience. Is that right? Okay, yeah. So to be a board member, you have to be a SMAC representative for 1 year.
Yep, and the process there is we really want people to get familiar with the process. We expect a little bit more out of our board members, and so we want them to have gained some experience, and then also make sure that it's something they want to commit to, because if you get on the board, then we're going to lean on you, and we can't have people jump and ship on that one. So yeah, you really can get involved in SMAC at any point in time and at any level you want to give based on what time you have available. And if you want to be really involved and never be on the board, that's totally cool too. So
yeah, like I said, we really encourage everybody to come to those SMAC meetings, no matter what level of involvement you're in, because you kind of get an inside scoop of the events that are coming up and different things that we talk about, and you can give your perspective. So they're super valuable meetings too.
Definitely. Rachel, we've got a question about work study. Could you maybe speak to what that might look like this fall or this year? There was an email that just came out.
Yeah, definitely. So in the sport management suite area, we actually have student employees that I supervise that help out our program. So I'm kind of familiar with what they're doing. They did just send an email, the Office of Student Employment through the whole campus sent an email about 2 days ago, I think. And they did announce that they're going to do work study again this fall. So if anyone is interested in any of those positions, I know our student employees have always tended to really like the things that they're doing. It gives them a chance to go to class, go work between class, and go to their next class, not have to leave campus, not have to fight for a new parking spot. But it is a good way to get some work experience. But take a look at the student employment website, and these positions, I believe they're working on approving them now. So there's a portal called Sean. It's SEAN, but you can log into that and you can see what positions are available. I would definitely recommend starting to look now, because I know these a lot of times will be filled by the time school starts or the next couple weeks after into the semester, because a lot of the programs are looking for their student employment help at the beginning of the semester. So there are opportunities out there. Just take a look and see what is available and what works for you.
Eric, we've got a question about, or Dr. Olson, my apologies. We have a question for you about spring semester. And, you know, obviously we all know that things are a little too early to tell at this point, but has there been any internal dialogue about what spring might look like at this point?
Yes, we are already scheduling spring classes because we need to identify rooms and make sure that the curricula can be provided uh, on track. We don't want to send students a year behind. So at this point, we are anticipating the same situation as fall. If a vaccine gets out and is distributed, or the pandemic, does magically go away, we can open up far more classes. So this is very fluid, but at this point, we're anticipating that it's going to be this way throughout the course of the year. But again, it's subject to the fluctuations of the disease. So if it gets far worse, we're going to be remote. If it gets better, then we can open up more classes. And what that means is, in a class of 43 rather than 14, maybe I get 22 or 23 or something along those lines, which would give us a lot more opportunity for high flex rather than online or remote synchronous or asynchronous. But flexibility and the ability to pivot is critical. So I'd also advise students, if you're coming, especially remote, travel light this first semester. Don't bring every knick-knack with you. I know your room may be a little Spartan, but I think that would be a wise step for the first fall.
Yeah, and just a couple other tidbits to throw out there. We had a town hall yesterday where our chancellor and our upper level officials spoke to us about updates and things. And so something that may be useful for you guys to know is our wellness center, the woman who runs our wellness center on campus has actually been in some very high level national meetings and has a very strong reputation. So she's helped develop the policies and procedures with with El Paso County Health. That's our county health department, and then state officials. And so UCCS will have the capacity to test for COVID. We won't be doing, broadcasting every student with tests, but there will be that capacity on campus. And so that's good to know that for those of you that may not have cars and things like that, we do have a very good wellness center on campus at your guys' disposal.
And campus has set aside rooms for students who come down with COVID and cannot get home. If someone does get sick, it would be preferential if they were with their family. But if that's not possible, they do have rooms set aside for quarantine so that you are not passing it around.
So any other questions that are coming through, please share them. Does anyone else, while we wait to see if anything comes through the chat, does anyone else have anything to add on any topic?
Let me just throw out that we were anticipating being down about 15% campus wide. And early in the summer, we were down about 30%, but it has been steadily dropping. And I believe the last numbers were campus wide. We're only down about 7% from last year, and we're seeing that consistently drop. So we don't know exactly where we're going to be. We probably won't be at 100% from capacity from last year, but people are returning. They're looking at their options, and we're taking it very seriously. But the numbers are turning in the right direction for us. Unfortunately, we have fixed costs on the campus. We can't just stop paying the bills on the buildings and the utilities out there. So we really do want to be open, but again, we only want to do it in a safe environment for all of us.
Sounds good. Well, there doesn't appear to be any other questions coming through the chat. Hold on a second. Yes. So the question is coming in about SMAC and how you'll get information about that. So at this point in time is when we will start ramping up our communication to you guys just about events, things to plan for, things to expect. SMAC may also be reaching out to you just on a personal level, not even to recruit you to SMAC, but as I hope that you've gotten the impression over the last several months, we're a very engaged program. There's 5 of us in this program to serve you, and that's a pretty great ratio for you to take advantage of. And so as you think of questions, as you come into issues, please reach out to any one of us. And if we don't know the answer, we're going to find the person who does. So yes, you will get emails about SMAC. That will really start more once the actual academic year starts in terms of how to engage with those. Our meetings for SMAC will be virtual this fall instead of in person. So it's going to be easy for students to join, probably through Teams, because Microsoft Teams is the platform that I think is fair to say most on campus are using. And so you'll get information that way. Another question is coming through about.
You want me to answer that one, Ian? About the travel?
Sure. Yeah. Go for it.
So we are planning on having classes done on campus by Thanksgiving, so that when you travel home for Thanksgiving, you're not going to be asked to come back. Any kind of closing activities will be done online at that point. So that's the plan. No sense in traveling and coming back and exacerbating any transmission of the virus.
And then Tommy, I think you may have something to add.
So back to the email question, one thing that I will suggest to everyone on the line is make sure you do check your UCCS email frequently and often, because it's the only way that faculty have to contact you, update you, give you information about the class that you're in, and that includes my class or any other class on campus. So I know that times students don't really check their email very often, so please make sure you check your UCCS emails.
So Gabriel and Gabriel's mom, that is the latest news I've had. I'll triple check that, and we will email out to everyone if there's any update on that. We'll check that. I'll look into that tomorrow and hopefully send a double check email out to you to confirm that.
Yeah, and it's, everyone's hearing what different campuses across the country are doing. And there's a lot of really great ideas. And so now UCCS, what we're trying to do, and we're even doing things slightly different than the way Boulder is or CU Denver is. And so trying to do what makes the most sense for us, for our student population. So Dr. Olson, thank you for looking into that a little bit deeper. So with that, anything else from anyone on the panel? Sounds good. Well, thank you guys for your time. We hope that you found this to be valuable. Again, as you think of questions or want to engage more on a personal level, I'm happy to take phone calls, video calls, whatever, to make sure that you've got the information that you need. And I think I could speak for everyone on the panel that they're welcome and open to do the same thing. So thank you guys. We are super excited to see you on campus this fall. And we will send out a lot more information and follow up to any of these questions that are dotting us at the moment. But thank you guys very much. Have a great few weeks left of summer, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Greetings, everyone. Thanks.